Tantra is practically as old as the Vedas, first of all.
Okay.
Instead of using only the adjective tantric practice, these experiments like that, this is what we have to remember. And the basis of this is the concept of liberation. Again,
liberation.
Yes, all kinds of yoga we have been speaking about before are actually tantric.
So define Tantra. Define
This is tantric. It is the concept of liberation via Shakti, which is power.
Shakti.
Shakti, yes, we say Shakti. And so you have this dual approach between Shiva and Shakti. And
the male and the female.
Yes, and tantrics, that means nouns here, the people who are practicing Tantra, will try to reunite the dualisms in life. That means whatever is dual, they will try to reunite. So the principle is to unite once for all Shiva and Shakti into a final union, which is yoga.
So the dualities in life are not just male, female, they're the good and the bad. Or
yes, of course, everything. And here, to come to the core of what I understand you want to speak about, it is the Panchatattva. Panchatattva is the use of the 5 M's. What are the 5 M's? 5 terms, Sanskrit terms, initiated by the letter M. One is meat, second is fish, third is a certain type of lentil, dal. Fourth is liquors and wine. And fifth is sexual congress, sexual union.
And these are forbidden.
These are traditionally, for Hindus, things which are taboo.
Sexual, but they do have sex, the Hindus.
Well, for a
procreation
purpose, only, yes.
Not for pleasure.
So, in Tantra, and especially in yoga in general, we can say that sexual power has not only 2 functions. One, procreation, perpetuating the human race, and second, pleasure.
Right.
It has still another aspect. The first basic one is the glandular aspect, the growth of us, of human beings, it is there. But the last one, which is really the characteristic discovery, we can say, of Tantric yoga, is using sexual power for spiritual purpose. And this is a sacred thing. This is not something that you just experiment at a certain age to make a change in your sexual life. It is a sacred thing. Those people who are practicing this, at least in India, those people do it under the supervision of their guru.
They have a sexual practice under the supervision of their guru.
Yes, they are first initiated, each of them individually, to practice, to master the sexual power in different ways.
The men different.
Men and women.
The men must have a non-ejaculatory sex.
For example, and in this advanced Hatha Yoga, you have the Dinabandhu Pramanik, which was the close disciple of Professor Goswam, who was disclosed to the Western world the power over the smooth musculature, specifically the penis, the urethra. Urethra suction of air, water, and milk.
And milk. So the urethra.
Whereas it is considered that those muscles cannot be controlled.
Because the yogi would put their penis in a glass of milk and suck that milk up.
Yes, that has been demonstrated in the United States by Dinabandhu Pramanik, my teachers, and the women also are expected to also to display control in their way, mostly
which way?
Contraction. To
the
point that they are able even to stop the ejaculation
of the man.
To that point.
But the reason that the males are practicing that urethra sucking is to access the yin fluid, or the fluid of the feminine.
Don't mix up with the Chinese tradition.
No, okay.
We just say that they have to be fully controlled on the sexual part. They have to be initiated. Each of them will have his or her own mantra given by the guru, and when both of them are fully controlled, and generally it is only given to young people in the age 20, 30, something like that. Some of them will start, especially males, very, very early, their elder teens, to this practice. And then finally, and it takes time before both of them are allowed by the teacher to practice together. And what do?
What?
There is sexual union, physical union, but they are both of them at the same time concentrating on their mantra. And to the
union.
point that they will lose everything. That means no sexual erection and no sexual lust anywhere. Such is the victory over the dual aspect. He is symbolized by men and female, that they will be fully absorbed into them.
What would be the purpose of Tantra? What does that do to them? How does that affect them? What's the, benefit of that? Why?
You can imagine that kind of control. It is a super control. It is a superhuman control. It is very difficult for us even to envisage the control of the smooth musculature, isn't it? For male, for example.
Well, it's not.
But anyway,
but it must change their consciousness, is what I'm getting to.
Certainly changes. The mastery over sexual power is, as such, something extremely great, of course.
But how does that transform somebody? I think that's what's missing in the West. What happens to these people? What is supposed to happen in the practice of Tantric?
Throughout the practice, from the very, very start, both individually, they are spiritually infatuated. They are fully absorbed into spirituality. It is not the question of some physical control. It is already the practice, the very practice, is inspired and fully absorbed, I would say, into spirituality. So what happens if they are successful, which is something extremely difficult. I told you, this is walking on the edge of a razor.
Right.
Why? Because lust, sexual power, attraction can overtake. And then he or she will fall again. And then nothing will happen. So this is really in extremely rare cases that you can find this kind of practitioners.
Of course, but I think the ultimate goal was to realize the God embodied, the incarnation of pure spirit, and the actualization of that.
It is a devata realization. Devata is a divinity. For her it will be Shiva, for him it will be Shakti.
Oh, I see.
They
so
have
the
their
realization of the divine in the other.
Right.
Because then we can talk about Tantra, Mantra, and Yantra as aspects of the incarnational experience.
Yes.
Maybe we'll do that on another show.
I hope that will give some clarification about what Tantra is traditionally. Now anyone can pick it up and do whatever you like, isn't it? But this is a quite different matter.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.